These Alps are incredible, aren't they?
Oh,
I love it.
Hi guys.
Oh, hi.
Don't mind me.
Hi.
I'm just upgrading our time machine so that we don't need those goggles anymore. I think I've found a way to do it.
Oh, fantastic.
Perhaps you could just try some yodeling over these amazing mountains while I do
Oh, yodel, 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 yodel.
it. Maybe let's jump into some praise and worship and you guys can do the singing instead while we get this figured out. We just thought I wanted to stop for a quick refreshment.
What are you doing bringing us here? We've got other places to go this week.
I got so hot fixing that time machine. At least you don't need the goggles anymore.
All right, back to the travel agent office. Whoa. Last week we learned that you can trust God, and we saw how the Israelites could do that. Now this week we're going to be learning that we can take risks for God.
Well, let's see where we're going to head to today on our tour. Now, are you guys all ready? You ready for somewhere new again? Well, let's see where we're going. If you've got your Bibles, you can bring those along too, and you can open up to Joshua chapter 2. That's in the Old Testament, Joshua chapter 2. And we're going to start in verse 1. Then Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 spies secretly from Shittim, saying, "Go, view the land, especially Jericho." So before we keep reading, why don't we just quickly jump in the time machine, head to Jericho, and then we get to see it just like they would have seen it when those spies first rolled up to it.
Perfect. Ready? Got your backpacks? Let's go. I think
Whoa, check out those stones.
that city is enormous. Oh,
Okay,
this is
so
interesting.
let's read a little bit more from Joshua chapter 2 to see what's going on in this story today. So, those spies that Joshua sent out, they've come to Jericho, and they've come into the house of a harlot whose name was Rahab, and they've stayed there. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, "Behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land." And the king of Jericho sent word to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land."
Wait, that was the king.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine this lowly lady who just had not a great job? She would definitely have never interacted with the king before. And suddenly the king says, "Get to my palace. I've got a report I need from you."
I would be scared to death.
That's crazy. But Rahab, so in verse 4 of Joshua chapter 2, "But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them, and she said, 'Yes, king, the men did come to me, but I did not know where they were from.' It came about that when it was time to shut the gate at dark to the city, that the men went out. I don't know where the men went. You should pursue them quickly. Maybe you will overtake them." But she had actually brought them up to the roof and hidden them in the stalks of flax that she had laid in order to dry out on the roof. So the men pursued them on the road to the Jordan to the fords, and as soon as those who were pursuing them had gone out, they shut the gate. Now before they lay down, Rahab came to these spies on the roof and said to them, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And when we heard it, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in any man any longer because of you. For the Lord your God, He is God in heaven above and on earth beneath." Isn't that amazing? The Israelites had forgotten it 40 years ago when it was just fresh. It had just happened to them, and they were going into the land. Remember last week, they were so scared to go in because everyone was going to beat them up and they were so little. But we learned that for 40 years, everyone in this land had been afraid of the Israelites. They had remembered how big their God was. They had remembered that God had brought them out of Egypt, that He'd rescued them from Pharaoh, that He'd opened the Red Sea, that He'd helped them defeat these other nations in the wilderness. So they've been living in fear all this time, and the Israelites were the ones in fear on the other side. Isn't it amazing? We don't know sometimes what God has put in other people's hearts.
What I think is amazing is that this lady Rahab had heard about their God, and she didn't worship God. She didn't know God, but she was prepared to put herself at risk for God. And God really rewards her for that, as we look later on in the passage.
Yeah, and look at this city. I mean, these were people that are living in this city with big fortified gates that could easily keep out any attackers, keep out the Israelites from getting into the city. And yet even the people in this city are living in such fear. Let's go back and see what happens in this conversation between Rahab and the spies. So Rahab's come to them, and then she says in verse 12, "Now therefore, please swear to me by the Lord, since I have dealt kindly with you, that you also will deal kindly with my father's household, and give me a pledge of truth, and spare my father and my mother and my brothers and my sister, with all whom belong to them, and deliver our lives from death." So the men said to her, "Our life for yours, if you do not tell this business of ours. And it shall come about that when the Lord gives us the land, that we will deal kindly and faithfully with you." Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall. She said to them, "Go to the hill country, so that the pursuers will not happen upon you, and hide yourself there for 3 days until the pursuers return. Then afterwards you may go on your way." And the men said to her, "We shall be free from this oath to you, which you have made us swear, unless, when we come into the land, you tie this cord of scarlet thread in the window through which you have let us down, and gather to yourself into your house your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household. And it shall come about that anyone who goes out of the doors of this house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be free. But anyone who is in with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head if a hand is laid on him. But if you tell this business of ours, then we shall be free from the oath which you have made us swear." She said, "According to your words, so be it." So she sent them on the way, and they departed. And straight away she tied that scarlet cord in the window.
Amazing, isn't it? How this lady, who didn't know God but had heard so much about him, was prepared to take such a massive risk for him. Imagine being a person that had never associated with the king. Imagine if you or I were called to see the king because he thought we'd kept spies in our house. We would be extremely scared to go before the king, because the king back in those days wouldn't have been as kind or as merciful perhaps as a king in our day that we would be familiar with. Kings in those days, if they thought you were not telling the truth or they didn't like the story you were telling, they would chop off your head and you'd be dead. So this poor lady really risked her life going in front of the king. And not only did she go in front of the king, but she went in front of the king and she actually told a lie to protect the spies. And she told that lie because she knew that God was more important, and serving God and protecting God and his people was more important than serving the king. It wasn't a good thing to lie, but she was she was serving God in her doing so. So she was protecting God's people. And God said, "You know what? I really respect that you have gone out of your way, put your life on the line for me, and I am going to protect you and preserve your life and the life of your family when we come to take over the city." So can you tell us a bit about what exactly happened to Rahab after this passage?
Yeah, well, this great wall here, this is going to come tumbling down. I don't want to take us there in the time machine right now, because who knows where these rocks are going to fall.
Yeah, too dangerous.
But God is going to do this, not the Israelites. They don't have any tanks or missiles or rockets that they can fire at these huge walls.
Not even bows and arrows, really, to defeat that huge city.
And you know how they defeated it? God asked them to march around the city.
What?
And march around the city.
How does that defeat an enemy?
That's because God's hand was going to defeat them, not theirs. And so when they marched around the city, the whole wall, this whole thing is going to come tumbling down, except for where Rahab lived. She and her family were going to be safe. And you know what? Because she took that risk, she gets to play a really important part in the history of the Bible. In fact, she's the great grandmother of King David. And if you add a whole lot more greats, great, even to Jesus. So she gets to play this really important part. And she's the only one we know from Jericho. But because she feared God, even more than the Israelites did last week, because she feared God, God took care of her.
I wonder if there's a chance in your life where you can take a risk for God. Maybe it might be telling a friend at school that doesn't know about Jesus, like maybe telling a friend about Jesus who doesn't know him. Because sometimes when we do that, we risk other people making fun of us or picking on us. But all these risks that God wants us to take are important, and God will honour us for taking those risks for him. Are there any other risks you could think of that perhaps you could take for God? Maybe it's obeying your parents when you don't particularly feel like it and your brother and sisters are picking on you for doing it. These are all little risks, and they may seem little. They don't seem like risking your life in front of a king, but these are all little risks, and risks that you and I can take on a daily basis that will help us to honour God and to take risks for Him.
And Rahab had no idea just how blessed God would give her. So sometimes we don't know what the consequence will be of our risk. So maybe you should take a risk. Something simple, like do something really nice for your family this week. Like help your brother, help your sister without them asking. Look for some way that you can help them. Or if you don't have a brother or sister, how can you help your mum or your dad this week without them having to ask? Without any expectation of a reward or extra allowance or extra candy or extra dessert. Just do it just because that's the right thing to do. Just like Rahab did the right thing.
Alrighty. We're going to zoom on back to our travel agent now, but next week we are going to go on another exciting adventure and we look forward to seeing you there.
All right.
See ya.
Let's go.
Hey guys, I hope you've had a great day at CHBC Kids. Hasn't it been fantastic? Stamping our passports, traveling all around the Middle East to know where God's people had been. What a great morning. Fantastic job for Sam and Brenda. It was so good.
So much fun. And I'm really starting to kind of get used to the whole time travel thing. So
It makes my tummy go a little whirly. Ooh.
Well, yeah, but I'm also ready to talk to Sam and Brenda because
Right.
I reckon that is such a more economical way to travel. So I want to line that up for when we can travel again. And, you know, I'm gonna book a holiday in with the T travel agency.
That name is going to take off. But where would you, if you were going to go somewhere,
Yeah.
Megan, in that machine, where would you go? You could go anywhere.
Such a hard decision. Look, there's been a few places, but I've heard that the Maldives are pretty good, but I've always dreamt of going to Canada.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that would probably be my number one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Where would your dream destination
My
be?
dream destination, probably Baronia.
Baronia?
What's wrong with Baronia? Does anybody
Nothing.
live in Baronia?
I live in Baronia.
Ah, I'd
that's-
pop over and say hi to you.
Well, you
and
could
your-
do that, but you probably don't need to travel in the... Anyway, we're getting off the point. The point is, fill in your passports, guys,
Yes.
because it is such a great way to remember not just where we've been, but what we've been learning about and how good God is to His people in that time.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
No, it's been really, really great. And just coming up, we've holidays are done.
Oh, Matt, they're like the best holidays ever, though.
I know. You know what I'm really looking forward to?
What?
I don't know. I know, but I'm really looking forward to getting all those puppets when they're finished
Yes.
together and have like a puppet choir where we
Ooh.
could sing one of our CHBC kids songs.
Yep.
And that could be part of our worship.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be
it's
fun?
definitely going to happen. And Izzy, the dance session that
I
she
know.
led,
Yep.
I can't wait to put together these worship videos. So
Yep.
it's very exciting.
Yep,
and I
absolutely.
smashed it at Jarvis's games too.
Well, I would show you some of Izzy's dance moves.
Yeah, but
I need
please
to
don't.
I need to control myself. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, though, to all of the leaders who jumped up and volunteered to lead stuff during the holidays. It really made it a great time. But that's actually the wonderful thing, Matt, because you see, school is going back,
Yeah.
whether it's at school or homeschool. But that means that our CHBC Kids Zoom sessions on a Tuesday afternoon are back as well. So we would love to see you guys there on a Tuesday from 4:30 till 5:30. And we have so much fun. We look at the Bible stories again, we play games, we do activities, we do Kahoots, we do craft, we talk, we learn, we pray. It's amazing. And
That's so much to
so
squeeze in
much.
one little Tuesday
Well,
afternoon.
It's possible. So we would love to have you guys come along and join us for that too.
Now, if I wanted to come and join Tuesday afternoon,
Yeah.
what would be the way that I could do that? How can I do that?
Well, you can go to our Facebook groups, our Instagram page, or our web page, and all you have to do is click on the Zoom link.
That's easy.
That's it. At 4:30,
Easy peasy.
click done.
Done. So
Yeah.
good. You know, I hope you've had a fantastic time. And as we come into one more week, you know, we finished holidays, we're going back into school, and we're really praying for you guys through this transition. And for those that are at home doing school there, and some are continuing to go back to school now, we are really praying for you guys. And, you know, as you do all the things that with craft or activities that we do with CHBC Kids, we would love for you to share that more and more on our Facebook page so we can have that sense of being together, to be a community all together. You guys are amazing. Jesus is amazing.
Oh, yes, he is.
And we are praying that you guys have a fantastic day. God bless you guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.